Good morning, everybody, or good afternoon, depending on which
Hello.
side of the country you're on. Thank you all so much for joining us today. We are here with our wonderful Silvia to talk about Slovenia, one of the most beautiful countries, I think. Even though I haven't been, just from the pictures I see, it looks absolutely stunning. I know Silvia can speak more to that, having been many, many times. But before I turn the reins over, I just want to do a few housekeeping reminders. I will be here sort of lurking in the background monitoring the chat. So if you do have any questions as we go along, feel free to use the chat function and I can jump in and ask Silvia your questions as we go along. Alternatively, we'll open it up at the end if you would like to ask any questions live. She'd be happy to answer them then. Also, as a little reminder, we are recording today's presentation. So if you do need to jump out for any reason at any point in time, we'll have the full presentation up on our YouTube channel later this afternoon that you can go back and reference. So with that, I will turn it over to you, Silvia, to take us on a dream trip.
All right. Hi, everybody. Thanks, Carissa. As Carissa mentioned, my name is Silvia. I am a regional director at Exeter, and I head the region covering the Adriatic, which includes Slovenia, the country which we'll cover today. So I'll go ahead and share my screen with all of you and begin the presentation. Okay.
Perfect. It looks great. I can see it crystal clearly.
Awesome. Okay. Good. So some of you might be familiar with Slovenia. It is a pretty small country, centrally located in Europe, bordering Italy, Austria, Croatia, and Hungary. So it is truly in a great spot and very convenient for travelers to, add it as a standalone destination or combine it with the surrounding countries. It is as Carissa said, it is a very pretty country. And what is very interesting is that it combines a lot of different experiences, activities, landscapes. So within a 2-hour range is relatively easy to go, from the capital to the mountains, to the wine region, to the coast. I mean, there are lots of options that can be done. So it is truly, an option for all sorts of guests, travelers, active people, not so active. So there's something for everybody. I will begin showing a map. Let's see. Hold on, if it's a bit slow. There's still people coming in. It's taking a bit longer for the slides. Let me try again.
I'm still seeing the first slide.
There we go. Okay, perfect.
Perfect. Yep.
I guess it wasn't recognizing. Okay, so this is Slovenia. As you can tell, it is pretty much bordering land from other countries. There is a tiny piece of coast, which is the Istrian Slovenia. And what I will cover today will be Ljubljana, located here in the center of the country. As you can see, it is pretty much, in the true center of the country. So really good option as a base, because as I said, I mean, from here, you can pretty much cover everything around and the maximum you'll be driving is about 2 hours. So it's very convenient. For people that have just a few days, it's also great to just go to Ljubljana, spend 2-3 nights, and then cover the rest of the areas as day trips. That's always doable. But I'll go in a little bit more of detail today and do it as if we were to, spend nights along the route. So I'll start in Ljubljana. From there, we'll go to the northwest of the country, which is where Lake Bled is located, and Triglav National Park. From there, we'll go down south towards the wine region here on the west, and then descend to the Slovenian coast. And then I will finish briefly mentioning a little bit more about the eastern part of the country, Maribor, and the other wine region. The only part that I'm not gonna cover today is this whole southeastern area. And just because for first-time travelers to Ljubljana, and even sometimes second-time travelers, there's a lot to see in the rest of the country. So I feel like this area is more for someone that already knows the country or really wants to do something completely different. It is, there's more, I will say, traditional villages, there are valleys, but there's not really that many variation of landscapes as in other areas. So, I mean, if you ever have a question or want to know more about this part, I'll be happy to help and assist, but we won't be covering it today. So I'll begin with Ljubljana. Okay, the capital of Slovenia. Again, great base for a couple of days, 2 nights, to do day trips from there. It is relatively close from other European cities. So for example, 2 hours from Zagreb, 2.5 from Venice, and under 4 from Vienna. So it works well as a first stop after arriving at one of these airports, or just at the end of a trip before going to one of these cities. Ljubljana itself, the city, doesn't really have a whole lot to keep people for days. So I will say the old town, which is extremely charming, and then the castle, which is perched on top, are the two main highlights, and that can be covered in a half-day tour. There are also obviously some museums, interesting.
So, Sylvia, I'm not sure I'm sorry to interrupt. Your audio seems to be cutting out.
Okay.
Oh, you're back. You're back. Okay.
Okay. Better now?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, okay, great. So again, the old town and the castle in Ljubljana, that will be a half-day tour in the city, and then other options for museums and galleries, but I would say just for people that really are interested in art. Outside of Ljubljana, a nice option for a half-day or like a few hours excursion will be the village of Radovljica. And this tiny little town is famous for the gingerbread. So we can organize a fun experience, hands-on, of gingerbread baking with actually it's a tiny bakery museum sort of thing. So it's really fun for families, and it's really it's easily done in combination with a half-day tour. So that could be a nice option in the city. In terms of hotels, there are, let's see, it's taking a bit longer, this presentation, to pass from one slide for the other to the other, apologies. Yeah, in terms of hotels, there are 2 top choices I have in the city. One is the Intercontinental, is the newest hotel in Ljubljana. It is actually in the tallest tower in the city. So as you can see in this picture, the rooftop, you actually overlook the old town and the castle. It is a 5-star hotel, modern, very contemporary. It has all sorts of amenities, gym, spa, restaurant, so pretty much a full service in this hotel. The other options for people that might want something a little smaller and more in the boutique spectrum will be the Cuba Hotel. This is a 26-room hotel, still steps from the old town. I mean, as I said, it is a small city, so you are pretty much everywhere in 5 minutes. 26 rooms, most of them are this double room style, like in this picture. There are only 2 junior suites, which are the largest ones. So it is essential to book in advance, especially for the summer months. This hotel, however, doesn't have the full service like Intercontinental. It does have a restaurant where breakfast is served and dinner, but there's not really anything more beyond that. There's no, a pool or a big lobby area, bars. So it's mostly for guests that want to just go back to rest and then maybe go explore the city at night for dinner. And from Ljubljana, we continue, as I showed you in the map, towards the northwest to Lake Bled. So this is the beginning of the Alps, the Alpine region of Slovenia. Lake Bled is one of the most popular destinations within the country. So it is very popular among Slovenians, and it is a place that can get pretty crowded during the weekends, especially in the summer. There is just one road getting there, so there's no way around, avoiding the crowds. It is about 45 minutes from Ljubljana, which is very convenient as a day trip or as the beginning of a longer route through the northwest. And the town of Bled is mostly known because of the island in the middle with the church, and then the castle, which is overlooking the lake. Outside of Bled, there are other alpine villages, there are other alpine lakes. Bohin is one of them. There's, for example, a cable car to go to one of the mountains, hiking trails, some biking options as well, lots of family activities. There's also a beekeeping tradition in the area, and we work with a local beekeeper to show guests how the whole process works. They can actually see what a day in a beekeeping farm is. They can even create some wax figures, candles. So it's fun for kids and for families to do something like that. In this area of Lake Bled and Bohin, we are a little bit more limited in terms of accommodation. And that's when, it comes a little bit as a question, because it mostly depends on what the clients are comfortable with. I do suggest a lot of the times to just stay in Ljubljana if clients really value having a luxury accommodation, because once we get to this part of Bled, the lakes, there are not really luxury properties. The one that I will say I feel comfortable, booking for my clients is Adora, which is more of a bed and breakfast, not really a full hotel, but it is a charming, I think it has a little bit under 10 rooms. They are very spacious. They have the breakfast service, but there's really nothing else. It is a relatively small building. It overlooks the lake, and it is in walking distance from the town and restaurant, so guests can just walk there for dinner. But there's not really that many in terms of services within the property. There are two other options I wanted to mention, just because some of you might be familiar with them. One is the Grand Hotel Toplice, and the other one is Villa Bled. These two, again, it depends a lot on your clients. You know them better than anyone, so you will know if this is right for them or not. These properties are both in the lake. Toplice has beautiful views, and it is actually in the actual town. But I will say that they are by no means, consider a luxury property. So I will put them more in the 3-star, lower 4. Villa Bled especially has to, you have to keep in mind that there's actually no AC. So during the summer months, I'm not very comfortable booking it for American clients. But again, either Ljubljana would be an option, or the bed and breakfast Adora that works perfectly fine as well. From this area of Bled, we continue to the Triglav National Park, which is the only national park in Slovenia. It's located bordering Austria, and it's most of the Julian Alps, which are the southeastern part of the Alps. And it is a fantastic area. It's pretty large.
Lost your audio again, Silvia.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
Let's see if you can hear me now better.
Nope, still no audio.
No audio at all?
Oh, you're back. Okay.
Oh, okay. I don't know what was the last thing you heard, but anyway, Triglav National Park, it is a great option for the outdoors, active people, staying in Ljubljana, staying in Bled. Plenty of options for hiking, biking, there is kayaking, there's rafting, climbing, so plenty of things to do. If we do it as a day trip from Ljubljana, it could end up being a pretty long day, so I would just be careful with that. It could end up being actually 10 hours, just in case they want to do some hiking. But it is a spectacular area to discover for first timers that would like to get in touch with nature. So continuing from Triglav National Park, we get to the westernmost part of Slovenia, and we get to the Socha Valley. So this whole area, it's very small, but it's known as being the culinary center of the country. It's very interesting because not many people know it. But it combines still the great outdoors, history, and gastronomy. So the Socha Valley itself, again, as you can see in the picture, plenty of activities for everybody. That area was actually where one of the biggest battles of World War II took place. And actually, Ernest Hemingway wrote a book about it. It's a Farewell to Arms. And it is in Cobarid, which is the main town of Socha Valley, where you can find the World War II.
Sorry, Silvia, we've lost your audio again.
Oh, sorry.
Technology is not with us today.
No, it's not.
All right, you're back. Farewell to Arms.
So yes, Cobarid is an important historical place for, I guess, interested in knowing more about World War I, for example. And then the third point I wanted to address in terms of the culinary center of the country is that it is here where the famous Isha Franco restaurant is located. So this is one of the top 50 restaurants in the world. Currently, this year in 2020, it's number 38. And the chef, Anna Roche, she was named the best female chef in the world in 2017. The restaurant has 2 Michelin stars, and it is a truly special experience because of where it is located, how removed it is from everywhere, how unknown it is, and how spectacular the actual experience and the food is. So if you have clients interested in, special food experiences, I would 100% add this area. It is hard to do as a day trip from Ljubljana. So adding a night or 2 would be ideal. And there is actually my next slide mentions the accommodation. So
sorry, Silvia, we've lost your audio again.
Okay.
Okay, you're back.
I guess it's just coming and going.
I think so. I can hear her fine.
Your gone again.
Yeah. Okay.
I hear her perfectly.
Okay. Well, good to know.
Oh, maybe it's just me. I see a couple people in the chat saying they still hear you. Perhaps it's just me. If anyone's having audio issues, please put it in the chat so that I can jump in and we can pause Silvia while she comes back. Thank you.
Okay, great. Yes, so there are not that many options for accommodation, but there is one that stands out, and that is Nevesa. Nevesa means clouds in Slovenian, and it's actually a very interesting approach to a property because they have a complex of 4 chalets. They are the 4 here you can see in this picture. That means availability is usually very limited. Each chalet accommodates up to 4 people, so great for families. And as you can see, they overlook the whole Socha Valley, which is what I mentioned earlier, and the town of Cobarid. It's actually here below. You can see it when there are no clouds, but you get like a full view over the mountains. It's just gorgeous. And I think it's very interesting because they have they blend with the landscape, with the environment, and they let clients kind of have their own unique stay. And that is done because there's not really a service as a hotel would be. So here you have a main area. One of these chalets are kind of like common areas, and there is a self-serve breakfast. There are also bikes at disposal for clients. There's also wine from the cellar, beer. It's available 24/7 for clients. They have homemade cheese, traditional cured meats. So everything is available for clients, and then they just come and go as they please. They also offer catering because it is a little bit removed and it's not that easy to get to the town. I mean, it is easy if you have a vehicle, but if you feel like not going anywhere for dinner, they also cater food from restaurants in the area. And they also offer transportation services. For example, if you want to go have dinner at Isha Franco, which is really close by, so they can do that and arrange through the hotel as well. So it is a great property to just spend, you know, a couple of nights and do day trips, and also perfect for clients that are self-driving, just because it gives them the freedom to just explore the surroundings. From this area of the Socha Valley, we continue south towards the wine region of Gorička Brda. And this is actually, it's known as the Slovenian Tuscany. It is very similar to Italy, and actually part of it is in Italy. So you kind of have to go in and out of Italy to get here, which is, it's really interesting. All the rolling hills, there are a few towns, fortress towns on top of the hills. So really picturesque. It specializes in a white variety called Rebula. And, you know, we can arrange it as a day trip from Ljubljana, or for example, clients doing a self-drive, they can come from the Socha Valley and the chalets I mentioned towards the wine region and make a stop there, for example. We could arrange wine tastings. So there's plenty to do and see in the area as well. And this western part of the country is also where the Karst Plateau is located, and where some of the highlights some of you might be familiar with are also situated. The Predjama Castle, which is the one built on the rock, it's here. And then it is also an area full of underground caves and you know, geological marvels. So Postojna is one of them, and the Skochan cave is the other one. These are the two bigger caves, spectacular. My personal favorite is Skochan. It's less visited than Postojna, and it is just massive and truly impressive. So again, very easy because it can be combined with the castle, it can be combined with the wine region, with the coast. So very easy to cover all that area. And from here, we get to the coast, the tiny stretch of coast that Slovenia has. Here, it changes a little bit in terms of the architecture and the atmosphere, the vibe one gets. So it is much more similar to, architecturally speaking, to Venice, and also it has also the atmosphere you can find in the northern Croatian side, the Eastern Peninsula, like Rovinj, if you're familiar with that area. So the main town is Pidan, is the smallest one, but it is the most charming one. Is a picture. I mean, this one is Pidan, and this one, this other picture as well. And also nearby, actually 20 minutes or so from Pidan, is Trieste. Which is Italy, but it's also a great excursion or day trip from the coast. So that can be combined really nicely with Pidan. And the other area I wanted to mention that it's very popular also as a day trip or combine it with something else is Lipica. So Lipica is actually the original place where the Lipizzaner horses were bred. And it is a stud farm. It is a little bit inland, but still very close to the coast, about 30 minutes. And it was actually founded by the Habsburg family. It is where the horses that were originally used in the Spanish riding school in Vienna, this is where they were taken from. With different changes, that doesn't happen anymore, but they still breed these fine horses, and that people all over the world have. So they offer shows, they have performances, you can have a private visit of the stables. So it is a nice also way to get to know more about the Lipizzaner horses. And in terms of the hotels in this area, there are two options I want to mention. The first one is the Kempinski Palace, which is located in Portorož. It is still on the coast, but about 10 minutes by car from Pidan. There's also a sea walk all along the Adriatic Sea that goes from Pidan to Portorož, and walking it's about 30 minutes. It's really pretty. And this is, let's say, the iconic hotel on the coast. So there are two wings in this hotel. One is the Palace wing, which is the historical one, the one I usually book. And then there is a more modern one on the side, which is very contemporary, so not for everybody. And then there are restaurants around the town of Portorož itself. It's not really as charming as Pidan, but there are places to go, and it is very lively. So it's not that it's just removed from everywhere. It's just that it's a different vibe in terms of there's no old town, for example. The other option is the Hotel Pidan, which this one is actually in the old town of Pidan, overlooking the water. But I will say this is more maybe geared towards more independent travelers that want to be in the middle of things. It is not a smaller hotel. It has around 100 rooms. It doesn't feel as big, but I will say the regular rooms tend to be a bit smaller. So I book always starting on suites, and it has a fantastic rooftop, very popular among the locals. And yeah, it is really nice for maybe younger couples that want just to have something a little bit more casual. And we'll finish with a short overview of the eastern part of the country. So this is a lesser known area. And again, it still has, you know, sites and places to visit, but because there is so much in the other part of the country, sometimes this kind of, you know, stays on a second place for people that go back. The main city in the eastern part is Maribor, which is the second largest in Slovenia. And Maribor is home to the oldest vine grape in the country, in the world, actually, sorry. The grape is 400 years old, and it has been continuously producing wine. It actually has a production of 25 bottles a year, which is very little. So these bottles are given to prominent figures visiting the country, like head of state. So it is actually a very peculiar thing to visit in Maribor. Again, wine region, so another pretty large wine region. Is actually larger than the Gorička Borda on the western part. Plenty of options to visit different wineries. And also this area is known for the thermal waters, but I wanted to make, you know, a mention about these thermal waters. There is this idea of them, you know, being these spectacular spas where people go and, you know, truly having a very special experience. It's not quite like that. Most of these thermal waters are actually divert, so they go to hotels which have their own spa centers. So there's not really that many public bathing areas, like for example in the baths in Budapest. It's a completely different idea. So it is mostly hotels that have their own spas, and these hotels, unfortunately, up to this point, there hasn't been one truly luxury accommodation built. So I would say they are more in the 3 lower 4-star range, and very popular among Slovenians to go for the weekend. So I mean, fun experience and interesting for people that, you know, want to get to know that part of the country and want to experience these thermal waters. But just to set the expectation is not really, you know, something truly spectacular yet. I'm hoping that eventually something will be built there that really is a highlight, and where people actually, you know, start developing sort of a more cohesive network of thermal areas. And I wanted to finish by mentioning how Slovenia in general terms can be done and how to combine it. So it could everything that I've talked about can be done with a private driver, but it's also a country that works extremely well with a self-drive. The value price is really unbeatable. Service is great. There are plenty of options for everybody. And it is really easy to just go from place to place. The guests don't have to drive for hours at a time. So it's very convenient and comfortable. And it's also so well located that you can combine it with different countries around. For example, with Austria, very popular. Graz is the culinary capital of Austria, and it's just under an hour from the border with Slovenia. Then we have Vienna, Salzburg, under 4 hours. And also Croatia, which is one of our most popular combinations of Slovenia, Croatia self-driving. So Croatia is just 2 hours max from Ljubljana. I mean, if someone is on the coast, you cross the border in 20 minutes. So you are in Eastern Roving in under an hour. Zagreb is about 2 hours from Ljubljana. So it is very popular to have someone arriving in Zagreb, just because a lot of the times the flight connections are better. And then from there, pick up the rental car and continue towards Ljubljana, and then cover Slovenia in about 3-4 days, and then continue south to Croatia. So there are plenty of options to make it work if someone just doesn't want to go all the way there to visit only Slovenia, which I understand. Yes, so this is all. I hope you've learned something today. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. And if you want to understand better how something works, or anything that might cross your mind, I'll be happy to help you. Thank you.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Silvia. And again, I apologize for the apparently unnecessary interruptions with audio issues that are just impacting me. So I'm glad no one else had those issues. At this point in time, if anyone has any questions, feel free to unmute yourself. You can use the button at the bottom left corner of your Zoom screen to unmute yourself. I didn't see any come through in the chat, which always makes me think you answered everything if there are no questions. But I would just like to remind everyone that next week, Wednesday, same time, same place, we will be having a presentation on the Volga Dream river cruise in Russia with our wonderful colleague Jody. So hopefully you can join us for that one as well. If you don't have the registration link for that, please feel free to pop me an email. But if anybody, I don't see any other questions coming in the chat other than lots of thank yous. Great presentation, great program. So if we don't have any other questions, I will just say thank you again, Silvia, and we'll see you all next week.
Thank you, everybody.
Have a great rest of your week.
Bye.